welcome to our AI Leadership in Action webinar. My name is Molly Bennett and I am with Designed for Learning. And we're really excited to bring you this webinar on just some practical ways that we have been working with different districts around the country on their AI journey. As you can see, we also sort of included the responding to the executive order. AI is in our schools. It's part of our education for teachers and students. It's part of learning. It's part of our future. So as we respond to not only just seeing it everywhere, but also just this idea that now we need to make sure that it's part of the education experience for all of our students and teachers, we thought it would be helpful if we brought in a couple really awesome districts that we've worked with that are well along their way in implementing and integrating AI into teaching and learning, so that you could have an idea of what some other districts have done, get some ideas behind the scenes of conversations they've had, of things that have gone well, of things they maybe would have done differently, how quickly everything is changing, even based on some announcements that were happening yesterday. So we're really excited to have you here and to bring our guests in. So as we bring our guests in, they're going to introduce themselves. We have Jay Salerno. He's from Connecticut area, Emily in Texarkana in the Texas area, and then Cody Holt from Royse City in Texas as well. So I will bring all of our guests in. Welcome Jay, John Jay, welcome Emily, and Cody, welcome, and thank you for joining us. So I've asked our panelists to just introduce themselves and share a little bit about where they're at currently in their AI journey. We're going to dig deep into how they got there and what tools they're using and things like that. But Jay, let's start with you if you want to introduce yourself.
Thanks, Mal. My name's Jay Salerno. I'm the Director of Educational Technology for a district right outside of Hartford, Connecticut. We are about 2.5 years in our AI journey. We kind of saw this coming years ago. And we did a proactive approach knowing it was going to come, not as fast, but it is coming that fast. We do have a platform that we adopted last year, about 1.5 years ago. And we'll talk more later about our Gemini adoption, especially with today's announcements or yesterday's announcements. So welcome.
Awesome. Thanks, Emily.
I'm Emily Samansky. I'm the coordinator of instructional technology at Texarkana ISD in Texarkana, Texas, so located right there on the Texas-Arkansas line. This is my 3rd year in this position, and I would say as a district where we are is really working with our staff to choose those tools that are in our AI toolbox and really get deep into the training on those tools and how they integrate with curriculum. We also, as far as on the student side, have really pushed heavily into the digital citizenship piece of AI and also how that can be brought into kind of the career exploration piece.
Two awesome things I want to dig more into for sure. The digital citizenship of like, what are we talking? And then the career exploration. And I have a question that I didn't include in our slides that I'm going to kind of probably end with for all of you. So thanks for bringing those up. Cody.
Hi, my name is Cody Holt. I'm Executive Director of Learning Technologies for Royse City ISD. We're in North Texas, just a couple hours from Emily. We're going into year 3 in our journey, with really year 1 being about teacher adoption and establishing our guidelines and procedures, and year 2 really being about student adoption.
Awesome. Well, welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for being this awesome resource for everyone. I think the first thing that we're going to talk about is really just kind of understanding and facilitating the use of AI as kind of our first one. And so we have 3 questions that we could sort of think through here. And let me just keep changing the outline here, the layout. So first of all, how are you helping staff and community, which I think is really cool because there's some new parent resources that are coming out that are interesting. So how are you helping not only the teachers, but also the community understand what AI is and what it's not? Let's just start there. Like, is there any strategies or things that you've done with staff and community to help them just understand what AI is?
I know one piece we really kind of, when it first started getting going, was kind of just demystifying it. I think when people heard about it, they were just scared. I think they heard the horror stories, and that's where their mind went. So we really looked at, okay, what do we currently use as a district? All right, where is AI already really in some of those tools, and how can it increase what we're already doing? And so just approaching it from, hey, you're already using quizzes, but now they have these AI tools and look how it can increase how you're using this. Or, hey, we're already using, this curriculum over here, and now they've added an AI component. So I think our first kind of entry step was really demystifying it for our staff and making it just more approachable. So when we did bring in new tools or, hey, here's this new generative piece, it wasn't so scary, if that makes sense. So that was really important for us.
No, Em, I'll piggyback on that. I think that word demystifying is completely on point, especially for our secondary teachers, because they see AI as that evil,
Mhm.
and not wanting to change their pedagogy yet. And I know we're going to talk about pedagogy a little bit later on, but yeah, just communicating to your families, communicating to your staff. The students are way ahead of us. I mean, we're trying to teach, and we'll touch about it before later on, because the digital citizenship piece is a huge piece. And if I could show you a postcard that I got yesterday from a kindergarten kid, he said, "Mr. Salerno, you taught me how to be a digital citizen this year." And I think that communication piece, we've done workshops for parents, we've given resources, and just trying to keep everybody informed that it's not the evil that everybody perceives it as.
Yeah. Cody,
Yeah,
anything to add there?
yeah. I was going to say, for us, like we actually started with our administrators, since they're the ones that are leading the campus, really diving into them early on and getting them to explore. They were familiar with the idea of AI. It was the generative AI that was the new scary thing. And so helping them understand you've been using AI for 10 plus years. You just didn't realize you were using AI. And so that kind of helped them over the hurdle. And then once we'd actually developed our actual principles on how we want to approach the use of generative AI and start sharing with parents that here, not only here's what it is, but this is how we're teaching your kids that we're using it, and here's how we're teaching your kids teachers how they're using it. That helped kind of lower that blood pressure enough for them to kind of say, okay, I can see where this could be useful now.
Yeah, that's awesome. I just shared too. I came across the Day of AI website, which is kind of like, the day of code that people put together. And so they just released a family toolkit as well. So I just put that in the chat as well. That's just some family resources, just a video to share, with people. What is AI? Where are you seeing it in your world as a family and things like that too. So that could be that too.
And Mal, I just went to a workshop last month put on by the Day of AI, and it was absolutely fantastic. And their resources are fantastic.
Yes, and they have a whole curriculum too for rolling it out at different grade levels and different activities and things like that too. So it is a nonprofit organization that is working with us, which is really great. So what about buy-in? So I think we've talked about demystifying it, tearing people. We went to go to a conference and somebody said, "Oh, have you used AI?" and they weren't even sure. So now that we kind of know what it is, how do we get buy-in? And I was just talking to our college nanny, and she was talking about her college professors' views of AI. And now we have, elementary and high school. And how do we get buy-in so that the teachers don't think that AI is just, plagiarism, copy and paste? It's writing my papers for me, things like that. So do you guys have any specific examples of any strategies of how to get buy-in from
Well, I'll chime in first. I don't mean to interrupt anybody else. I want to chime in first, but anyways, I think it's that perceived usefulness. If you try to teach anybody a tool and you don't give them the perceived usefulness, you're not going to get there. We can talk back to 2014 with Google Drive, and if we didn't give them that perceived usefulness right away, you're not going to get that full buy-in. So our angle, especially with our professional learning, is let's give these teachers at grade level or a subject matter a perceived usefulness, how this is going to make their career a little bit easier, or a more efficient? And how can it help students more importantly rather than a copy and paste?
No, I was going to say something very similar. You've got to show them, I mean, what is it going to do for me? And I think that's anything we put out there in education, any training we do. I think also one thing for us was finding our early adopters, those champions. And we all know who they are in your district. They're the ones who, like, you need an extra hand to do tech training, and you call them up and they say yes. Those people, they're already doing it in class. And one thing that's great about getting those early adopters is then they get in those PLC meetings, they get in those department meetings, and their partners are listening to them. Admins start hearing about it. And so it kind of trickles out from there. So we wanted to get those people on board too and let them try a few things and see what they could bring to the table.
Yeah, so we like specifically what we started off with is showing off Google's Google for Education's Future of Education report, and it's a big long like 180-page thing, but I only showed on specific pieces. But one of them actually had a infographic on the percentage of a teacher's day because the biggest complaint a teacher has is they don't have enough time. The percentage of their day they actually claim back by embracing generative AI and what it can do, from email composition to you name it. And it was kind of crazy how much time they could to earn back. And that was the hook to get teachers in. And then we started talking about specific uses. Here's how you can use Gemini. Here's how you can use Magic School. And then we started talking about, okay, what does this look like for student achievement? And we look at things like personalization and differentiating. You pull a tool like Diffit and just show what Diffit can do. And so given, like Jay and Emily have said, really specific, just-in-time use cases for them, so they can bite onto it and kind of move forward on their own.
And I think what Cody, just to piggyback with Cody and Emily, it's showing the administrators first so they can model it at their building level. It's for evaluations, let's say. Take all that data that you just got from scripting an observation, not evaluation, and let's find the strengths and weaknesses from that data, and even your guiding questions. Now it turned into a 45 to an hour typing session of trying to construct an observation feedback into minutes and a more productive conversation.
Yeah. So I think too, I just posted the link to our Designed for Learning AI Literacy Academy that we have too. And I think what you have all explained too is that the use of AI in education, there's a teaching component. So how does it help me as a teacher? What are some of the efficiencies, productivities, the time saving? And then it's for learning. So we can get into like the teacher side of like, how can I personalize and differentiate and things like that? But also like, what are the students using AI for? So I, follow this newsletter and, podcasts and all the things of, AI right now. And we're sort of talking about, if we go back to the, integration of technology into our classrooms, is that, the early achievers and the people that are excited about it are going to keep using it, and their education and their class and their student opportunities are going to be so much better. And then if people are not choosing it, what's happening? So how do we ensure that AI is being used ethically and equitably in the schools? I think we now have this, executive order, which, at least it's coming from a couple different places by saying like, we need to be teaching students and students and teachers about AI, providing professional development. But is there anything that you've done to sort of level the playing field here when we're rolling it out to teachers?
I know as far as looking at tools specifically, we tried to look at tools that you could kind of take different ways if you really wanted to take it, to the nth degree and do some really creative, awesome stuff with it. Or if maybe you're a little nervous, you can try little bits of it and get in there, but you're still utilizing it and you're still testing it. One tool that we do have for our district is CurryPod. And so talking about that use case, a big use case for us was writing feedback. And so that's how we hooked some of our teachers who were really kind of nervous. There was, I can give that instant feedback, but I can still, and we keep reminding people, it doesn't take away that human element. You're the content expert, you're the teacher. And so we have teachers who've done some really amazing, awesome things, changed the prompts, but we do still have some teachers who they're baby stepping through it, but they're still utilizing it. They're still having those conversations with their kids, and they're doing it while teaching. So we found that some of the tools we're choosing, we made sure that they have different levels that teachers can enter at, if that makes sense.
Yeah, we did kind of the exact same thing, and I always try to remind people Moore's law is always in effect. You're in any subgroup of people, you're always going to have the early adopters, and you're always going to have the laggards. Even if you go to the early adopter group, inside that group, there's the early adopters and there's laggards. So you're constantly, it's all based off ratios, right? But we did the same thing. We used CurryPod as well, but Magic School. The reason we made the decision to go with Magic School versus Gemini last year was ease of access for tools, and we could train on a specific little tool inside of Magic School, or you can look at School AI or some of the others, and that was an easy lift for our teachers, and kind of get them comfortable with using something, and you could personalize it to, you're talking with the teacher, and their concern is, they want to make sure that they're creating an assignment that the kids can't use generative AI on. They can't cheat on it. Okay, cool. Magic School has a chatbot that helps you create assignments that you can't use AI on. So we show them that. Others are like, I need to level my text. I got kids that are all over the spectrum as far as reading level. Let me show you that. And so we're able to give them something they can bite on, they can use, they get comfortable, they see the value of it. And then we can start showing them other tools. And then you have the early adopters that they're already doing that already. So all you're doing is checking up on them and showing them, hey, I see you're doing this. Have you thought about doing it this way? And you can start moving to a deeper level with them.
Yeah, I agree with Cody. We're a Magic School district also for the last year and a half. And we're trying to teach the ethics even at the youngest age with our educational technology teachers teaching classes to the kindergartners have been using Magic School. And as far as equability, being an equity issue, one of our goals in the district is an equity focus. And so we've made a lot of our departments, how can we use AI to make things more equitable? And so they've been making their department goals or their short-term goals of investigating ways how Magic School or Gemini can make things more equitable.
All right, you had a very natural segue into what's in your toolbox. So I'll tell you, at Designed for Learning, we have a program called the AI and Exploration Cohort, in which we work with different districts to dive deep into any of the different AI tools that they're interested in. So at Designed for Learning, we don't sell a specific product. We just help do with training. So it's fun for us to sort of see what people are going. So if you choose 4 AI tools, we'll explore one a month, and then we'll help you kind of come to a district recommendation as to what's in our toolbox. So Jay, Emily, and Cody, you've each touched on, we're a Magic School, Gemini, we are now CurryPod. What's in your toolbox? Have you gone all in and paid for one? Have you stayed with an OpenAI toolbox and just kept with the free versions? How long are you in with some of these commitments? So those are some of the questions, what platforms are most valuable? How did you make the decision? How did you evaluate the tools? And then if you want to kind of get into any creative uses, but I think right now, let's just sort of talk about how you got to your toolbox of recommended apps and things like that. So Emily, why don't you go first? I'd love to hear from each one of you guys.
Sure.
On this.
So for our district, Gemini chat is enabled. Notebook LM is enabled for staff only. And so obviously we have that available for our staff, and we like the Gemini piece for Gemini chat because it's not training that AI. It's kind of controlled by our Google for Education, same policy. So we really like that. And that's kind of what helped our decision there.
Mhm.
CurryPod, we have the purchased version for the entire district. Our decision for that, kind of like I mentioned earlier, was we had a lot of questions as far as, writing and grading and feedback. And we found that that was a tool that some of our teachers were naturally gravitating towards. And then we found just so many other uses for it. So that was a good piece for us. So we've added CurryPod to our toolbox. We also have high use of a lot of free tools. Next year, we'll be doing a pilot with the paid Magic School, but up until now, we've only been doing the free. Diffit is high use in our district on the free version. Some other tools that have built-in AI, Quizzes is high use in our district. And so we have several campuses that have paid for that at the campus level. And so just a few of those tools, but a lot of them that we're using right now are free. And then we kind of evaluate that usage. And then we evaluate, obviously the privacy, security, look at that. School AI is one that's very popular in our district. And then, like Molly mentioned, with some of the PD that they put on, we're actually partnering with them this upcoming year to take what we are using in our toolbox and do those deep dive sessions. So we've already done training on them, but we want to get even deeper to really how we can integrate it. So we're partnering with Design for Learning to do that this year.
Awesome. Thanks, Emily.
There we go.
Cody?
Yeah. So the way we went about actually picking the tools that we're using is part of our development of our AI guidance, included an evaluation rubric and the way we approach for applications, and the way we approached it is we're working the assumption that eventually every tool we purchase or look at is going to have AI. So we built a rubric that actually works for all things, including specifically generative AI tools. And then we started looking at tools by purpose and use case. And so we have kind of general ones. So, we wanted a general chatbot that we could use with students that could be moderated and controlled by teachers. And so that's why we landed on Magic School, and we do that K-12. Students and teachers have access to that. We use CurryPod as well because we wanted something that provides interactivity. They can use it with Google Slides, and gives that AI feedback. And with the paid CurryPod, it's at least us in Texas, it's aligned to our STAR assessment. So the feedback works with the same type of feedback they'd get on their STAR test. We have Canva and Adobe Express, which are both free for EDU. So everybody should have it if they want to get it. Gemini, we have Gemini and Notebook LM turned on for staff. Once we start getting training, now that it's going to be available for students inside of Google Classroom, we are going to turn on for students, but probably not until second semester, once we get a chance to actually train teachers on how to do that. We also pay for Grammarly. It's one of our ELAR resources. And so we use those AI tools specifically for writing and training there. But we're constantly evaluating as well, but we try to keep the list of tools, the toolbox, small intentionally, because we could officially try to support 50 different things, but we can't do any depth, any training on that. So keeping it to, it's about 7 or 8 tools allows us to really spend and focus our time training on meaningful use of those, and allows our teachers to really start to get really high usage.
And I think that's so interesting, Cody, when you said, you evaluate the tool based on usage, because there are different tools that are better at different things. And so in our personal life, you may go to a Canva AI to design an image, where I'm going to a ChatGPT to get a recipe, in those, but there are different use cases. So same as in education, there are different use cases based on what these AI tools are doing well. So thanks for sharing that. Jay, what about you guys?
All the above. We're using all the same tools, but we are a Magic School district. And I think, to your point, Molly, is knowing the usage. And I think that's the biggest thing with Magic School. We can see the data. I can see the data breakdown even by school. So if I have to provide more training during a PD to a certain school, I can do it. And Canva, the Adobe, the CurryPod, the Grammarly. Yes, we're using them all. We're going to launch Gemini this fall for our students 9 through 12, even though the announcement came out K through 12. But we're going to start small because Magic School was an enormous success over the last year and a half. Maybe that'll change tomorrow, just like AI will change tomorrow. But we're having a AI on August 26th, kind of like I finally got hours back for professional learning from the district, and we're just providing like just an AI sandbox because even Padlet's got AI, and we just don't realize the amount of AI that's out there. To Cody's point, it's everywhere, and we just have to understand what we're using and how we're using it, and whether or not it's beneficial for certain uses.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I do feel like getting some of that the time back now that we have, I don't want to call it a magic wand, but we have a new magic wand that's kind of shiny out there. It's really important to do that professional development. So we might come back to this last question here, but I think we naturally kind of rolled into like, how do we do professional development? I know Cody, Jay, you just told us about a day. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more. Emily, you talked a little bit about some PD that you're doing. Cody, you just did an AI summit. So the questions around professional development is, what have you done to implement AI into, the classroom or, for educators? How do we differentiate that training for teachers? And this is a good one. How do you help educators move from curiosity to confident implementation? And I think that comes too with that sort of continuum of teachers use it for professional, and then it's also used in learning. So who would love to share a little bit just about PD and your plan that you've done for AI?
Yeah. So I can start. So we kind of map out our professional development for the year, and it starts with the kickoff being our big AI festival, our big learning festival, which we just had ours in early June. And we try to make that as big and fun and informative as we can. So we did full-on music festival with live bands and food trucks and vendor fairs and demonstrations, and we had Eric Kurtz there. Molly helped us with that, and it was a great energetic time because we want to build excitement around it. And so we start there, and that's when we also release any new updates, big updates. So like our student standards for AI use were released at the AI festival. And then we look at, like Jay was talking, looking at our usage, how are apps being used? Are we seeing high usage, but not necessarily high quality usage, that type of stuff. We actually map out our PD for the full year at a campus level, and actually what's going to be focused for those campuses. And so like last year, we highlighted four tools inside of Magic School, for example, at our high school that, we felt like these were high leverage tools. They could be used in multiple ways. And we spent the first semester really working with and showing them how to use the tools, getting them ideas for them. So we got weekly kind of information about it.
What were those four that you did? Can you remember which one of the tools?
It was like the text leveling, question generator, and I cannot remember the other two.
Okay,
but they were just kind of, I think two were kind of more productivity type things, and then two were kind of classroom use. And so we held a kind of a competition early spring for that. That was a lot of fun. Had teachers just showing off what they're using, and then Magic School does a student use AI March bracket, and so then we took part in that as well to really kind of amp up the student use side of it, and saw that student usage just skyrocket.
Did you beat us in the quarterfinals?
No, I think we got knocked out after the first round. By Baltimore Public Schools.
We got beat out by a fellow Connecticut school.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's fun that they do that. That's great. Anything else to add at that point, or?
Yeah, so we do that with multiple of the tools that we're really wanting to highlight and focus for the year.
Okay.
So it's kind of a shotgun approach because you have some people that want to come to PD, some want to do some stuff asynchronous, and so we kind of understand that and adapt for it.
Well, I think too, Cody, what you've done too is, I could stand up and talk about AI all day, but if my counterpart,
Mhm.
stands up and says what she did in her classroom, I'm like, oh, I can do that. So I think that sharing of how you're using it, finding those tools that have the most use, and then kind of showcasing like, oh, this is what people are doing. I think that's that feels very motivating too. So yeah, Jay.
Miles, just to add to that, like the professional development outside of our district-wide stuff, and Cody, it's great to hear that you had so much success with your AI day this week or last week, whenever it was, because that's where we're trying to launch in the fall. Last year, we basically did a soft opening during the fall, 2 falls ago, with Magic School and AI. And then we went to a more of a formal professional development. But our biggest success was myself and the educational technology teachers, or my pioneers, or the ones that grab it all, going into PLCs and really dialing down on how AI can help their grade level or their subject matter.
Yeah, that's so true, because I think you can give a general idea and then they go, okay, well, I'm teaching, animal cell biology next week. What can we do? Show me exactly things. And yeah, so we have that built into our Design for Learning cohorts too, is let us come and meet with individual teams, grade levels, things like that. Using AI in 2nd grade looks very different than 9th grade. Emily, what are you guys doing?
I will completely agree with Jay on that's kind of our model for a lot of our ed tech training, is moving into those PLCs, those CTM meetings, because we're just finding, like, for us, we have one middle school and one high school that are very large. So our middle school is 1,400 kids. So doing a general training is just not going to work at a campus like that. But if we go into some of those pockets and really get specific to them, we've just seen so much more buy-in. So we do a map for the year, essentially, too, on our training, and kind of plug in what we need. This year, we're partnering with Design for Learning, like I mentioned, to do some more formalized training on our toolbox, as well as provide more support to our admin for some admin training as well. One thing we do with all of our instructional team and our instructional coaches is any training that I do with them or that we have them go through, it's always a train the trainer model. So we make sure that, if you're the coordinator of math and science, you're getting trained where you can go talk about AI. Because I think when it first started, and at least for us, everybody came to me like, oh, that's an ed tech, that's an instructional technology thing. And it's like, no, guys, AI is for everybody. So I think we really have encouraged people to, hey, bring it into HR, bring it into the business office, bring it in here. And so we really try to bring our instructional elements, whether you're multilingual education or whatever you are, bring that AI into what you do. So when you go talk about, Arby's training, or you go talk about HQIM or whatever you're training on, you can talk about AI too. So we try to make sure it's woven in as well.
And something that we've done at Design for Learning with a couple other districts too is, because Gemini, most schools are Google for Education school districts. And because Gemini is turned on, it's a very free, safe space to learn about AI, kind of offering that blanket overall training that allows us to go in and really just say, what is AI? What is a prompt? How do you refine things? What do you do with your AI generated things? That's a great place to start too, because every district that's a Google district has Gemini as a safe space to play. So that we've done some good introductions, and then we can dig deeper into some of the tools in the toolbox, which is nice too. So if you're just starting, that seems to be like a great entry place. And we have asynchronous options for that, synchronous options, all of the above. So that feels good. So yeah, and as all of these guys have sort of alluded to, Gemini just released yesterday that Gemini will be free and available to students K-12 in the Google Admin Console. You can turn that on. Well, you don't have to turn it on. You will have to turn it off if you don't want it. And then Notebook LM will still be available as well. And that's just for, isn't it over 18 still, Notebook LM? Yeah. Is that right, Cody? You're kind of giving me a little bit of a look look at the email. Okay. I still feel like that was maybe for 18. So, anything else on PDJ? You look like you were maybe gonna.
I was just gonna say, just to add to your comment, it's like with the prompting, like we moved a little fast with our prompting at our lower level. Like they were going right into Magic School and trying to do a prompt, but just teaching the structure of a prompt and how to take that prompt to a different level. And I think that's our key, and that's going to be a really big focus for us this fall, is because we're releasing Gemini to our 9 through 12 students, is the elements of a prompt. What is it, and how do you do it, and how do you refine it?
Well, I think too, I've been following, along with a lot of, is AI going to replace jobs? What jobs is AI going to replace? All these kinds of things. And I think the number one thing I'm hearing is that people that know how to use AI will be the ones with the jobs, will be the ones that will continue. And so what I love about Gemini is that you've got a blank prompt space, and now there's the gems where it's kind of like, in School AI and, Spaces and in Magic School where we are going to need to learn to teach those AI bots to be what we want them to be. So that's really critical thinking for us and for the students to start thinking about how do we cater AI to meet our best needs. And I think that's an interesting take on AI's not going to replace us as a teacher, but people who know how to use AI are going to be the better teachers and replace teachers that don't use AI is maybe going to be, where we go.
And that's why I say to my secondary staff, I mean, think about the kids that are coming through and we're teaching proper use, ethical use, and prompting use at such a lower level, at the elementary level. I mean, we're doing basically unplugged prompts with the kids. Compare, what you think compared to what the prompt delivered. I think these kids are going to get better and better at it. It's just that we need the teachers to kind of understand that it's going to change your pedagogy in a way.
Well, and I think it's a good tie-in to literacy. I mean, that's an easy way I feel like to get some people on board is don't just look at it as prompting. Look at it as you're teaching that kid literacy. If I'm prompting, an AI image generator, okay, I want it to have a yellow duck. And the kid says, well, that's not really what I wanted. Okay, well, what can you change about what you input in there to make it look different? Well, now we're talking about adjectives. We're talking about we're really having those conversations about analyzing their writing.
Well, additionally, one of the best ways to learn something yourself is to teach others, and that's kind of one of those hidden gems of generative AI. You have to teach it to get the output that you want, and so that critical thinking skill, like you mentioned, to be able to do that. And then I did go back and look at the email. Notebook LM, 18 and over for now, but they said in the coming months it'll be all ages.
Okay. Thank you, Cody.
You're welcome.
So as we look at, and I think we just started talking about it, student use of AI. So once the teachers have buy-in, we're using it for productivity and efficiency, differentiation, leveling text. Now we've got student use of AI. We've talked a little bit about digital citizenship. We've talked a little bit about literacy right now, and use cases of it. So there's a fear factor that AI is just copy and paste plagiarism. And is it plagiarism? And, I've run across a couple protocols that teachers are using in their classrooms, sort of the stoplight model of a red assignment, no AI, yellow assignment is use it, but don't let it write it for you. Green is like, hey, go for it. Like use AI in any capacity that you can for this assignment. The 0 to infinity concept of like, where are we using AI along the continuum of 0 use to infinity use? The four of us live in kind of an AI green light world, and I'm not going to get fired. I do own my own company, but I'm not going to get fired if I use AI to write an email for me and send it out, or design a marketing, flyer or something like that. So as we learn to live in this kind of green light world, we are also prompting students to start using AI, but what guidelines, guardrails, protocols do you have in place for any of this student use? We want to still support creativity, problem solving, personalized learning. and then academic integrity and misuse. So all of those above, those are three very heavy questions that if you have anything that you could kind of offer, that would be great to hear from you.
Yeah, so I actually heard this from someone else, and unfortunately I cannot remember the name, but we actually adopted as kind of the first protocol for a teacher and for students is your AI use does not start or end with the AI. So you have to start it, and the output, the end product has to be involved with you. The AI can be in the middle.
Okay.
And so
Oreo model,
forced,
maybe?
That's awesome.
yeah. So it was like really simple. I'm like, how did I not think of that? That is brilliant. But it's that idea of like, okay, you're using it to help you draft an email, great. But then you need to go back and analyze again. How is that not, not you? How can you improve it? What could you change here? What could you add here? That critical point that makes it now yours again to go share back out. That was immediate, and that was super successful for our staff. Just thinking through that really simple, and for our kids, it's really easy to understand. So
it's awesome.
That's awesome, Cody. I'm going to steal that. Can I steal that?
Absolutely, because I stole from somebody else.
It's creative stealing. It's like education. Obviously, any district, if you're going to adopt any AI platform, or you probably already adopted an AI platform, you don't even know it. You have to put a policy in place, and I'll throw it into the chat. We had a committee come together of parents, administrators, and teachers, and the Board of Education in order to adopt a policy, just for making it known that there's a policy involved, and it's not as simple as Cody's. And when you start and finish and middle and left and right, whatever you had add, I'll watch the recording to get that. But any district has to adopt a policy.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
I think too, we try to have conversations with our teachers. I feel like there's this idea of some teachers just try to altogether avoid AI. Like, how can I make any assignment that just avoids it? And then some teachers, it's, okay, how can I integrate it? And I think ultimately we have that conversation of what are we trying to teach? What are we trying to get to? So what's the purpose? And that may mean we need to look at a different process, but we're still getting to that same point. But ultimately, I think with our secondary, one thing that's been successful is having that conversation of, your kids that are graduating, they're going to go into professions where AI is going to be commonplace. And so if we're not prepping them and we're not preparing them, we're ultimately setting them up, for failure with that. So we've got to give them that prep. I know a lot of universities are bringing on AI experts to help look at those degree plans and look at those courses and see how it can be integrated. So we just try to have some of those conversations with our teachers in those PLC meetings. It may change the process of that lesson a little bit, but let's look at what we're trying to get to at the core.
Yeah,
I agree totally with Emily. I have a daughter that's going to be a junior at University of Connecticut, and she's a digital marketing major with a minor in AI analytics. It's like, just, you got to understand it. I mean, not
that wasn't even a degree when we went to school. So, yeah.
So I want to piggyback off of Jay. The editing policy or updating policy sometimes can be overwhelming. But in some cases, like in ours, we developed a guidance that's kind of a living document that we edit, but our actual board policy, I think we had to change 6 words in all of our board policy. And so sometimes it's not a huge, like, we got to throw everything out and rewrite it. Sometimes it is just minor changes that you have to make.
So has anybody had to follow through with any of this, academic integrity, or have we had broken policy, thing? We're having, heads shaking. I know Jay's had a couple of Chromebook fires, so we've addressed that, as well. But how are you addressing that? What are we providing for our teachers or support or things that are happening? I mean, our college nanny was just like, our professors threaten, like, you will be kicked out if you use AI to turn in anything. So she's just like, if they're instilling the fear, in them. So what's happening, do you guys feel like, to address that academic integrity if it's broken?
So it's kind of counterproductive. We actually, in our policy, stated that we do not use AI detectors. because they're just not accurate enough. And so it just gets it out of the way. We've had a couple cases. Luckily, they've been extremely obvious cases of AI use. A kid who can barely compose a sentence all of a sudden makes a sonnet that is just, Shakespeare quality. We kind of know that type of stuff. So those have been easier conversations to have. But we haven't had one yet where it's been questionable. And that one.
Yeah.
I think, Cody mentioned earlier about getting the admin on board. I think one of the biggest pieces with that, because I'm not on a campus, so when those issues or parents call, they're going to call your admin. I think getting the admin to understand that overall policy, what's going on, what's possible, and then also when we do training with teachers or we're talking with teachers, making sure, if you are using AI, that it's very clear your expectations in there, that it is something that your admin can support or back you up on. We have some great ELA teachers in our district who've kind of come up with some great ideas on how they can kind of look for those issues and maybe ways that they can, work with their kids if they think they are plagiarizing, because like he said, those detectors are not great. We have one teacher, what she will do is she does handwriting samples of some of their writing. She saves those. And then she will also enter some of their writings without student names to have it analyze that and then analyze the new piece of writing all within AI. And then she just has a conference with the student and says, okay, explain this to me. Or we have another teacher who her big tip that she uses is she has the kids summarize in their own words. If they do a digital writing, okay, summarize this paragraph now in your own words. And for her, okay, if they used AI, they're still having to do this critical thinking on that writing. So I'm still getting what is the point of that lesson, and it's getting there. So I think we've got some teachers coming up with some really creative ways to kind of change our way of thinking and our process as we look at academic integrity with AI.
Awesome. You just make this, the point is it's process now, it's not product.
Right.
100%.
And we can use, as teachers, we can use AI to create AI proof assignments too.
Yeah, that's true. Well, just as we kind of close up here, before we do that, just kind of thinking about that, what's working, what's not. We have a couple questions here. Biggest win, challenge, or roadblock. We've talked a little bit about those. If you could go back and change anything, or like advice for somebody who's starting, Gemini is going to be turned on now. AI, we've got, some direction that this has to be something that we train on. And, what's first? What's a big win? What would you do?
I think our biggest win is we got ahead of it. And although if a district is not ahead of it now, get those people that will accept that buy-in for it, and then get them on a committee and find out what tools in your district will work the best. We investigated every single educational technology AI tool that was out there, and we landed on Magic School. But the roadblocks are always going to be the roadblocks. I think Cody talked about it. I always tease some teachers that haven't had a buy-in with Google versus Microsoft, that your face is on my wall in my office and I want to take down that face. It's like the milk carton. But if I could change anything, I don't think I would change anything. I think I just need to stay even further ahead of everything. And that's, I have for my summer learning, I have probably, 20 or 30 videos that I want to watch and webinars that I want to watch just to try to stay ahead of it all, because this is not going away. It's going to stay here, and it's going to change education.
Biggest win for us, I would say I'm incredibly proud of our teachers, how they've embraced it. Even some of those that are normally a little hesitant, I see that movement and I see them excited. And I think it is because we've shown them how it can make their lives a little easier, and how it's good for our kids. Challenges, it's just so fast. I think that's probably everybody's biggest challenge, but we've got technology that improves itself. And so it's just constantly moving. If I could go back, I would say the biggest thing is we should have gotten more admin training up front versus I think we kind of went the teacher staff route. and then kind of came back. So I would have gotten more of our overall admin to really be educated on some of those things happening in the classroom first.
That's awesome.
So for us, kind of like what Jay said, getting in early and getting good processes, getting a policy and guidance and guidelines in, getting buy-in from the district early on was really a big win for us. Our kind of roadblock or issue, and it kind of goes down into what I would do differently. We left out an entire group of our staff in training. Didn't think about all of our support staff. So your office people, teams, secretaries, things like that. And they are the biggest abusers of AI because they're the ones that send out the emails and the newsletters. And it's very clear that it was written using AI. But we just totally skipped out on them, forgot to get them training. And they're, in many cases, the most public people in our schools.
Cody, to second that, I was on a call prior to this one with my assistant superintendent, and I said to her, listen, we got to get into the tutors and the paraeducators to train them on AI, especially Magic School, so they can customize these experiences for individuals or groups of students.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think those coaches and those tutors and those like personalized, those people that are even working one-on-one, like the benefits of that in there too. So, well, thank you all so much for sharing everything that you have. When we at Design for Learning talk about what's next, we've got, you can see that, you know, a couple of you guys have worked with Design for Learning. Jay, you helped train with Design for Learning. But we can help design an AI in Education Summit for you, just like Jay and Cody have put on an AI exploration cohort. If you're just thinking about what tools are going to be in our toolbox and you don't have that all set up, we can help guide you through kind of learning about each of the tools so that you and your school district can evaluate them. We have the AI Literacy Academy, which can look very differently. We have districts that are engaging it in real, in person. We have people that are doing it asynchronously, and we have a cohort blend of some people that are going to do some synchronous, some in person, and some asynchronous. So, but the AI Literacy Academy really addresses that, like how are teachers using it to teach, and then also equipping students with that AI literacy and how are they using it as well. And then whatever you need, just design it, dream it, we can help you with it. So we just put my email on here. I know that Jay and Cody and Emily are happy to answer any questions if you ping me and have specific things from any of their districts. But we just wish you luck and know that you're not alone and that there are people out there that are going through this at the same time. And we would love to help you along with that as well. So thank you to Jay, thank you, Emily and Cody, and we look forward to continued success and partnership with you guys as well. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, bye, y'all.